Hello, you're on Initiative Africa. My name is Asha Sampath. Welcome to your first 2021 edition of your weekly magazine featuring Africa on the move through smart innovations and initiatives that work. Let's get on with the show with our top stories today. 2021, a year for peace. This is all we can wish for Africa and the rest of the world. We will hear African Union High Representative Ramtane Lamamra about the Silencing the Guns initiative.
Well, it is essential that we speed up the whole process and the mechanisms that are already in place and make sure our efforts are optimized. When you go about building a house, you might not hit your deadline for finishing the roof, but you do have the foundations and the walls. You haven't failed.
Weapons and gangs, but thanks to a very determined woman, peace was established in this neighborhood of Nairobi.
I had a brother, my elder brother. He was arrested for participating in criminal activities. He was able to appeal and was released in 2012. He was only out for 6 months and was shot dead.
We'll head for the desert areas of the Sahel, where researchers have developed a fertilization technique.
Microdosing has made a big difference. It is much more economical than traditional techniques. Before, we would use 150 kilos of fertilizer. Now we just need 33 kilos.
What if we managed to put a few more guns away in 2021? In 2013, the African Union launched the Silencing the Guns initiative to achieve a conflict-free Africa. In a series of exceptional reports produced in cooperation with the African Union, Initiative Africa joins in this quest for peace on the continent by reaching out to those who have emerged from violence. Today, our first story takes us to the Korogosho slum in Nairobi, Kenya. Drugs, prostitution, armed gangs and now COVID-19 have wreaked havoc, but Rose Mbone, a resident in the neighborhood, took matters in her own hands after her brother was murdered. Her mission: educate, inspire young people and help them make the right choices. Take a look.
I had a brother, my elder brother. He was arrested for participating in criminal activities. He was able to appeal and was released in 2012. He was only out for 6 months and was shot dead. So that was like a wake-up call for me. My name is Rose Mbone. I was born and raised up in Korogosho. I do community activism, whereby I champion for inclusion of young people in peace processes, and I'm the founder of the Legend Kenya.
Rose in this Korogosho is a big name. People know him, and Rose even know the people of the area. So he was hearing us, and we grew in the same area. So Rose tried to reach me.
Other gangsters are scared of me, yeah, because they know my group was not the easy group to come and tell them, we need this. When we go in a club, even sometimes we beat other groups. Only, even in a ghetto, to get a gun is easy than to get a job.
We've been doing issues on conflict management education, trauma healing awareness and resilience, disarmament, and active non-violence ways of countering violence. In Korogosho, life was very difficult, especially for the boy child, because many of them used to participate and engage in criminal activities. And they end up being maybe highway robbers, or they end up being goons for hire.
We started terrorizing the area. We say charity begins at home. We started terrorizing Korogosho area, stealing phones, we upgrade to the televisions.
I think one of the reasons why I get to them directly is because I know very well they are feared, and because they are feared, nobody wants to reach out to them. So I felt like nobody is bad in this world. If only you listen to what people go through, then you'll get to understand how to support them overcome this challenge.
And even the police who were searching me around, Rostock take me there to them, to the authority of the area, and told them Moses have changed. The chief of the area, the village elder, they take me there. The weapon that I remain with, I take there. And my name was removed from that black book because I was not to be taken to the prison.
I used to mobilize youth and talk to them and tell them the importance of active non-violence, trying also to encourage them that there is an alternative to crime. You don't have to commit crime to be a superstar in the community.
When I meet Rose, he keeps telling me, I want to see you. I want to talk with you. So I ask myself, why Rose telling me you want to talk with me? First thing, he tell me, sit down, let's drink a soda. Yeah, a cold one.
We don't discriminate against anyone irrespective of their past. This, especially this is for those women who are reforming also from prostitution and who have at some point tried to engage in crime. Life is never easy for them. When an abuse happens to them, they are able to understand that it's an abuse, and there are the do's and don'ts of when it happens and where can you seek support. This is because in this community, women, sometimes they are not enlightened enough. They have no information on sexual and gender-based violence. Oh. 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 Sawa sawa. We celebrated International Day of Peace and we awarded peace champions. Moses was among them.
After my friend died, Rose talked to me, reflecting of my family, told me this life, Moses, right now in your family you are remaining only one. What if you die right now? Moses, I'm talking to you. And I changed.
Yeah, sometimes when I pass somewhere, I see boys trying to steal for other person. I come there, but I don't interfere with them fighting, no. I tell them, don't do this, because you are gambling with your life.
I look at my daughter and I see a brighter future because I know with the current work that we are doing, we are making it a bit easier for the next generation.
Hope for the young people of Korogosho, but what solutions should be brought to get the continent out of the cycle of violence and weapons? 2 years ago, we were in Addis Ababa and we asked the African Union High Representative Ramtane Lamamra how Africa had approached the negotiations for peace, negotiations and mediations that have existed for a long time.
We didn't wait until now to start tackling the African continent's problems, and we have always been busy negotiating and mediating, and issues such as the Biafra conflict, Nigeria, the international conflict around the Awuzu Strip between Libya and Chad were dealt with before the African Union came into being. We are now able to promote peace and security in a more systematic, integrated manner, covering the whole range of measures, from preventing conflict to post-conflict reconstruction. The heads of state of our member nations agreed that an essential part of the 2063 agenda
du projet de l'agenda 2063
was to start at the beginning by consolidating peace and security and then taking a determined approach to putting out the fires of conflict and tension in Africa.
L'extinction des foyers de tension et de crise en Afrique. Le Conseil de paix et de sécurité a adopté.
The Council for Peace and Security has ratified a master roadmap with detailed measures to be taken. The Council will, for example, take sanctions against any persons or groups involved in terrorist activities. This is a concrete measure and is already being done by the United Nations.
La lutte contre le terrorisme, nous disposons.
In the campaign against terrorism, we have the Anti-Terrorism Center. We have arrangements and conventions. We have specialized training. We have a database and a range of tools that have been tried and tested, and a range of tools that have been tried and tested in areas with terrorist activity. Not to mention 2 preventative measures for regions and countries where terrorist activity has not yet been detected.
Et les pays où le terrorisme n'a pas encore été détecté.
As for small arms, there is also an African convention, as well as conventions along regional economic community lines. Weapons destruction events are often held across the African continent. Having said that, Africa needs very specific, targeted measures to identify these groups and entities. And it doesn't end there. We also have indicators concerning small-caliber weapons.
And it is precisely these small guns that can pose a problem, as we have just seen in Korogosho. You have heard it. One of the young men explains that it is often easier to find a gun than a job. We asked Ramtane Lamamra how to overcome this vicious cycle, given that the traffic is extremely lucrative.
Nous avons un problème de mise en œuvre de tout l'arsenal juridique.
We do have a problem bringing to bear the full weight of the legal arsenal available. But that is in no way specific to Africa. There is tight gun control in Europe, but that doesn't stop armed bandits in European cities and gunfights between Kalashnikov-toting gangs of criminals.
De criminels et de délinquants. C'est un peu comme pour les narcotiques, les gens profitent de cela.
Well, take the case of narcotics. People are making a lot of money there too. However, there is large-scale international cooperation against drug dealing, and we would like to see equally effective measures being taken against illegal arms sales and the supply of weapons to the continent. We also need to deal with the problem of the demand for these weapons, for example, by cutting down to a strict minimum the quantities of weapons provided to member nations for their national defense. And of course, we are very worried about the pitched gun battles in our major cities. Our police forces need to make concerted efforts to stem the flow of small-caliber weapons across the continent. We have a range of measures we can take to get the results we need.
For those joining us on Initiative Africa, welcome back to the second part of our show. Solution exists to tackle the risk of food shortage. In Mali, farmers have just succeeded in obtaining better yields thanks to improved seeds, access to storage, and the warrantage system, a rural credit, resulting in 50% more income in families who can finally provide education for their children. At the origin of this success, a new technique, microdosing, which allows savings in fertilizers. Our journalist Lionel Koshua had followed the kick-off of this project. Take a look.
It began in Niger at ICRISAT, the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics. After 10 years of work, the organization's researchers developed a system of fertilization for fields adapted to the climate and arid soils of the Sahel region. In 2009, the Agra Microdose project was launched with funding of $9 million by the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa and 2 well-established American NGOs. The microdose technique is simple and inexpensive. A small amount of azote or phosphate-based fertilizer, depending on the country in question, is applied with the seed. We looked at one example at Tisala in western Mali.
Microdosing has made a big difference. It is much more economical than traditional techniques. Before, we would use 150 kilos of fertilizer. Now we just need 33 kilos.
To improve soil fertility, ICRISAT recommends the use of natural organic fertilizers, such as manure after the harvest. In this region, the principal cereal crops are millet, sorghum and maize. Farmers use the technique not only to save money, they also obtain a higher yield.
Before, we had an average yield of 600 kilos a hectare. Now, with microdosing and improved seeds, the yield is almost twice that, at 1.5 tons. You cover the fertilizer with a bit of soil. You add your seed on top of that. Then, you put some soil over the seeds. To get an idea of the difference it makes, just look at the cultural field where the yield was 2 bags of cereal. On the plot of land with the new technology, the yield will be 5 bags.
Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. In these 3 countries of the Sahel region, farmers cultivate their land to feed their families. Thanks to the new technique being applied at the Nangreongo Field School in Burkina Faso, there is enough food for everyone.
Things have changed with microdosing. I grow my own food, and thanks to the surplus, I've also been able to grow and sell onions. Where microdosing is used, there are also suppliers to make sure producers can obtain quality fertilizer. It is also used in conjunction with the warrantage system.
Warrantage is not actually a method of cultivation. It is an original system of management that means farmers can obtain loans for their livestock raising or market gardening. The farmers deposit a part of their harvest as a guarantee. The revenues generated by this system are also used to buy seeds and fertilizer. African women, who are particularly vulnerable to poverty, are the principal beneficiaries of the ICRISAT program.
Before I started using this technique, the family's main worry was finding enough to eat. Now our production has increased and I can sell the surplus on the market. I've also invested more in raising pigs. I've been able to send my 5 children to school, and I've bought 2 bicycles. I can honestly say that microdosing has helped me fight poverty. I am a model for other women in the community here, and I'm trying to teach them what I know. Other women in the villages should do what I did.
The results in the 3 countries using the microdose technique have been very encouraging. Production has increased by more than 40%, and earnings are up by over 30%. With figures like these to tempt them, other famine-afflicted regions on the continent could follow suit. Of particular concern is the Horn of Africa, where, according to the United Nations, more than 10 million people face starvation from the most serious alimentary crisis in over 60 years.
How can we maintain hope in the face of the conflicts which continue to spread in several regions of the continent? Can the Silencing the Guns initiative be a game changer? We asked Ramtane Lamamra, High Representative of the African Union, for his analysis on the settlement of the ongoing conflicts. Listen to him.
D'inégale envergure et ampleur, certains.
There are varying sizes and impact, and some are being dealt with on a bilateral basis, others on a regional level. And then there are conflicts being dealt with by the African Union, the United Nations, and the relevant regional economic communities. But the aim of this particular program is to focus attention and efforts on tackling 3 strategic geopolitical areas in Africa, namely the Sahara-Sahel region, the Great Lakes, and the Horn of Africa. These areas are the hotbeds for the worst and most serious armed conflicts, resulting in the most casualties. Measures have been taken within the framework of the African Union reforms to ensure that African nations make bigger contributions to the budget and the costs involved in running various operations. The Peace Fund, for example, which funds part of peace and security operations, is being fed to levels that have never been achieved in the past. That being said, in addition to the efforts of African countries, international cooperation will continue to be essential. And also, what Africa can do for its own security and for peace across the continent is also a direct contribution to peace and international security. And therefore, our international partners who work hand in hand with us, the European Union, but also a certain number of others, the United Nations, which share a strategic partnership with us, and big nations cooperating with African countries. Well, it is essential that we speed up the whole process and the mechanisms that are already in place, and make sure our efforts are optimized. When you go about building a house, you might not hit your deadline for finishing the roof, but you do have the foundations and the walls. You haven't failed, but maybe for lack of funds, or some other reason beyond your control, you have not completely finished yet. But you do have the foundations, the walls, and the determination to carry on. You are moving in the right direction. But with better coordination within the continent, as well as between the continent and international partners, we will benefit from productivity gains. The same efforts, but organized in a better way and deployed more sensibly, can produce a greater impact on the ground, in addition to this appropriation by African citizens themselves. I mustn't forget the role played by our sportsmen and women. In every stadium hosting competitions, followed by young people, we would like to see efforts made to promote the Silencing the Guns campaign. In other words, we would like to see a huge effort being made with a whole range of actors, from the more traditional ones to the men and women of Africa. Should all be the actors and direct beneficiaries of the Silencing the Guns campaign.
Next week, in fact, we will discover the second report of our Voices for Peace series in collaboration with the African Union about how Angola is recovering from a terrible civil war thanks to nature and the ingenuity of its people. Well, that's it. Initiative Africa is over for today. And of course, you can catch the program on our website, africaonair.com, as well as on our social media channels. Feel free to share, like and comment with the hashtag Initiative Africa TV show. And don't forget, next week, same time, same channel, I'll see you again with Business Africa. Have a great week and Happy New Year 2021.